Welcome back inside the Villanova Basketball Report Studios. Bob Long. It's time for V's and O's, where we break down a concept in Villanova basketball. And tonight, it's the continuation of what we've talked about for a few weeks. That's Jermaine Samuels and his willingness, newfound willingness, to shoot the basketball. So to set it up, as we've had these discussions before, Jermaine Samuels will come up and lay a high ball screen for Phil Booth. Booth loves to go to his right, can also go to his left, certainly. But then he's going to be replaced by by Jermaine Samuels, I should say, up here. So Booth now is coming over here with the basketball in his hand. Defender follows him. What is Jermaine Samuels, the defender, going to do as he comes to this spot? If he follows Booth in order to hedge, Samuels can either roll to the hole or pop back out to shoot a three. Samuels has been really good in terms of launching the three there. And I'm going to snag another pin here as well, because at this point, Jermaine Samuels, as a guy who is either going to choose to pass this one off real quick or to shoot, changes the entire game for this Villanova offense. Up until the game against Marquette, he wasn't even looking at the basket. He wasn't even shooting the basketball. Oddly enough, he did take 4 threes at the BMO Harris Bradley Center, now Fiserv Forum at Marquette. He took 4 threes there, but only in the second half after Jay told him that he needed to shoot more. Okay, so now Marquette understands that Jermaine Samuels isn't going to beat him, and they're not going to let Phil Booth beat them. Interesting. Marquette knows how to stop a pure scorer. They have a guy on their own team, Marcus Howard, that fits into that same category. Shouldn't be a real surprise. So they're now committing 2 defenders to Phil Booth at all times, and Booth, in that game, goes 3 for 18. 10 for 10 at the line, but 3 for 18 from the field, in no small part because Marquette is able to develop and devote 2 guys to Phil Booth. Now, the other thing that Villanova started to do really well in that game was drive. And these driving lanes opened up opportunities for spot-up threes for Saddiq Bey and for Jermaine Samuels. So Saddiq Bey loves to shoot this 3 on the baseline. Hit a huge 3 to go up 1 point late in that game. Jermaine Samuels, 5 for 13 from beyond the arc. 29 points, however, as he wasn't afraid to get to the basket either. So that's really, really important for Villanova. Jermaine Samuels being able to shoot the basketball. What happens against Butler? Samuels only takes 1 3 over the course of the game. In that game, it was really something else. He only shot 1 3, but the floor was still open for Phil Booth. And the reason why? Because Butler, they had to respect Jermaine Samuels from what he did just a few weeks ago, or days before, against Marquette. So now Phil Booth coming down the floor. Villanova's recently been an attack-minded mentality, trying to get to the basket. He was able to do that. He was also able to just rise up and shoot the 3 and could get to his favorite spot, which is about the elbow, where he can rise up and hit a 3. And when there isn't a second defender collapsing on him, he's so much more effective, to the tune of 28 points, 10 for 15 from the field, and 4 of 7 from beyond the arc. That's when Phil Booth is at his best. So why wasn't he at his best in the past? Well, that's a variety of reasons and a variety of questions that you could certainly ask. But a part of it was Jermaine Samuels and the fact that he was an empty body on the floor without a threat to score. And Villanova over the years has been one of those teams that lives and dies out here on the perimeter and spreading the floor, allowing for driving lanes, and allowing for kicks to open threes is how they went about it. Without Samuels, with that opportunity or even that availability, changed things significantly. So I think this is going to be important for Phil Booth, for Eric Paschal, who needs that driving lane as well to be able to get to the basket. That's going to be huge. Will Jermaine Samuels be ready to shoot? And if I can add one more, will Saddiq Bey, will he be ready to shoot? Oh, sure he will. Will he make the shots? He, Joe Cremo, huge in terms of if they can make threes. Jermaine Samuels, will he take them? The biggest 2 or 3 questions that Villanova can answer as they head towards the stretch run. All right, one more thing to go over for you guys. We talked about it at the top. Villanova's defense, has it been good? Has it been bad? Varying opinions on it. I think it's been good and good enough. Against Marquette, Marquette was shooting over 50% going into the final 5 minutes of that basketball game that Villanova won. Okay, that's not a great number. 17 turnovers in that game. Villanova was able to do that by committing multiple defenders to guys, playing that three-quarters court 1-2-2 zone pressure. And then when they do dive back, so let's go through that real quick. The 1-2-2 is not necessarily trying to cause turnovers. It's trying to slow down an offense so that by the time they get across the timeline, you've taken 10 or so seconds off the clock. However, if the ball does happen to get over this way, you can commit a second defender and try to create a third defender with the midcourt stripe and the out-of-bounds line. That can be done. But Villanova will occasionally run this. They like to run it out of timeouts and switch up the defenses over the course of the game. It's a brilliant move by Jay Wright. But now we're going to go X is the offense and V for V's and O's are the Villanova defense. V, 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 and V. So as this ball moves around the outside, Villanova, and let's just say that they're going to have one guy in the paint, and Villanova has a guy here. So as this guy beats the Villanova defender off the dribble, because Villanova has not been a terrific on-ball defending team, this defender can make the run here, this defender can make the run here, and again, that's going to open up a guy here if it happens to be this Villanova defender, perhaps it's Sadiq Bey. But Villanova has made a patent on this defender recovering and closing out. And then as the ball is moved here, now it's this defender moving here to close out, et cetera, et cetera. You're counting on the other team. You're making them make a perfect set of passes, kind of like when you're testing an outfielder in baseball. Make him make a perfect throw, and if he does it, he's going to get you out at the plate, and that's fine. But you're being aggressive, and you're trying to make something happen. That's what Villanova is doing. Listen, there are innate challenges to guys like Colin Gillespie, Joe Cremo, who can get beat off the dribble. You'll even see it with Phil Booth from time to time. None of these guys are absolutely stellar defenders. Jermaine Samuels is probably the team's best defender. But when they do get beat off the dribble, there needs to be a way for Villanova to react. So maybe it's this particular defender collapsing, and then the ball makes its way out here. Perhaps they try to move the ball inside to this guy, whatever we said his name was, X, right here, and Villanova's going to double this guy. Well, okay, when the ball does come out here, there does need to be a defender to at least make the effort to close out. And Villanova's, we'll call it havoc half-court defense, is based on doubling and then recovering. And it's an effort-based defense that a lot of teams aren't in shape enough to play, aren't committed to from a system perspective. But Jay, for better or for worse, over the years has committed to this havoc recover type system. And I believe that right now, Villanova, with the innate challenges that they have in terms of getting beat off the dribble, are playing pretty well defensively, enough to keep them in games when their offense hasn't been terrific, enough to keep teams under 70, 60, occasionally 50 points. And that's big for Villanova. Can they keep that up against a more national schedule? It's something that Kevin McClernand brought up earlier in the show. I don't know, but I do think that this can translate and can give teams trouble. So that's a look at Villanova's half-court man-to-man defense. That's our V's and O's segment for the night, and we'll send it back to the studio.